All right, we're live in New York City. It's the Build Series, the corner of 4th and Broadway, the claps, everything's going on today. It's Kevin Kenny. We've got a great guest we're very excited to have live in studio. The new album from Roux, Supervision, is out and available everywhere now. Give it up for Elly, guys. There are fans inside. There are actually fans waiting for you outside too, Elly, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. But thanks for coming by. This was we were joking in the back. This was supposed to happen a couple months ago, and I was bummed because but rightfully so. You fell under the weather there. You got a little sick, and now you're back. And the record's out now, so there's even more to talk about, which is cool.
Exactly, it's actually better.
And before we get to how great the music sounds, the creative process was really interesting to read about and your comments on it. And I guess to get to the core of it, would you say that when you're making art is to try to fail? Can you succeed while trying?
No.
No.
I don't personally think so. I think I have like a kind of spiritual teachery kind of woman, and she used to say, don't say the word try. And I used to be like, what do you mean? That's impossible. How can you not say the word try? I mean, like, I'm trying to be this, I'm trying to be that. And she was like, yeah, but every time you say try, it's like it implies failing. And it kind of does. Like, you're not like, I'm going to try and see if I can do this. You're like, I'm going to do it. Like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But if you say, I'm going to try at it, it's like a whole different mentality before you even start. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, like, trying to write a good song, you can be like, I want to write a good song. That's fine. But, like, I'm going to try and write a good song.
Right.
It just has a whole different feeling about it. And I think when you do try and do something very specific, like write a hit, it's a really bad idea.
How different does the music come out when you do try versus when you find yourself not trying? Is it sonically very different? Like, would we audibly hear a difference? No.
No, I think it's more the honesty of it. So, like, some people are not as sensitive to that anyway. Like, some people can listen to very, very, very manufactured, kind of factory churned out music, and they won't hear much difference between that and, like, a really honest song. And that's okay, that's fine. Not everyone's the same. But I think that's where it's noticeable the most, I think, is the honesty in it. And I think also the amount that you enjoy it. I noticed that if you're in a really good mood when you do something, you feel really good about it, you're really excited, then I think you can feel it permeating through the music. You can feel it. It has an effect. Whereas I think I stood there, and one guy I used to work with, you know, we fell out, but he's totally right about what he said about needing music to come out of the speakers and wanting music to come out of the speakers is two really different things. And if you really need that music to come out, like, I need a great tune, I need a big hit, and I've met so many people that are in that place where they're like, I need a hit. It's just not a very pleasant space to be in for making music. Like, it's not why you started making music. You didn't start making music to meet an expectation. You did it because you loved it and you really enjoyed the process. And I think if you enjoy the process, that's like as much as you can say about what the process should be. You know, like, you should just love it. And if other people love it, great. But if not, you shouldn't be making it to please other people. You should just make it to please yourself. And hopefully the knock-on effect is that it pleases others.
Which is so much easier said than done.
Yeah,
right?
it sounds really simple, but it's not.
Because you want
simple.
the validation of the audience, but if you actually seek that, if you put that maybe ahead of the actual art and expression, well, then it's all discombobulated, it's all reversed, and you're never going to get the desired effect.
I guess unless you don't care. Like, some people, their whole drive is just the success of a record. Like, they won't be happy unless it's #1 and unless it sells this many copies and blah, 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 blah. But I've definitely let go of that a long time ago because I tried going down that road and it didn't make me happy at all.
Did you go down that road? Because I was reading an interview you did with NME right after you kind of set the world on fire there with Bulletproof.
Yeah, then I ran.
Yeah, and you comment to NME, which it was mind-boggling, given the context, that it was like, it's going to be a while before the second record, which I would imagine if you were trying to do the whole chart game, you would just try to, dig in even deeper.
Not then. I think I'd already given it up by then. But I mean, like having the success, the type of success I had with Bulletproof didn't make me any happier in my life.
You thought it would?
I don't think I thought anything. I didn't think it was going to be such a massive hit. I was just like, I don't know. I like Depeche Mode and like The Knife, and then I was like, what is this? Why am I globally famous? I just didn't understand it. I couldn't get my head around it. I didn't feel like I was that person. So it just didn't make sense to me.
I'm sorry to speak over you.
That's okay.
But isn't it so fascinating that the different relationships, and it's something we've talked about a lot on this show with artists that have these massive hits like you do, where like we expect as fans for you to feel as strongly about your big hit as we do. right? Because that's where we got to know you, that's where we met you, and those memories are so fond, and the rose-colored glasses, et cetera, et cetera. But to you, it could have just been a song that you put on the record, and it was a fun song, and it was a nice song, but it's not this, like, you know, massive thing it is for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also when a hit has a certain impact, once it goes beyond a certain tipping point, I think something else happens, something changes. Like, I think for me personally, I was aiming for quite a specific audience that liked all the same kind of music that I liked. It's a really idealistic dream of mine, you know?
You wanted to build a community.
Yeah, I wanted to build a community of people that kind of got the 80s electronic sound and also the modern electronic sound, but in a more of an alternative way. Like, I've always liked alternative music. Like, don't get me wrong, I like 80s pop music, but I feel like that's like so long ago. You can't compare it to now pop music. So it was pop music then, but it wouldn't really be considered pop music now if it came out, because it's kind of too arrangement rich in a way for it to be successful pop music now. But I think I felt I was coming from a more alternative place. Like, In for the Kill had a much more alternative crossover impact than like Bulletproof did. Bulletproof put me in a vein, in a world that I had never even dreamt of being in. I don't mean it badly, like I didn't want it. How dare you give this to me? I'm really grateful, you know, like, but at the same time, it was a shock. It was a big shock. I wasn't ready for it. I was 21. Like, I remember coming here for the first time when I was 21. I haven't been here for a few years now, and it's really nice to come back. But when I came back, I had all these weird memories of when I first came here when I was 21, and I just cried for like 8 hours a day. You know, so when people are like, hey, it must be amazing for you, I'm like, I was terrified. I was absolutely petrified. You know, like, it might be amazing, but it's still terrifying. Like, you're 21, you're going to another country with a bunch of 3 strangers that you've never met, without your parents, staying in a hotel on your own, like meeting people that are strangers all day, and you have to trust them. And I was a sensitive, insecure kid as well. Like, it's not as easy and as fun as it sounds like. Now it is. I've learned how to have fun. I enjoy every part of my job, and I've made sure I do, because so many people would love to do this instead of what they do. And like, I'm lucky to not do, you know, work in an office or whatever. Like, I really do appreciate like the life that I have. I love it, and I've learned to really enjoy it and be relaxed in it. But I didn't get it back then. I was just scared, and I just wanted to run away. And then I didn't like the pressure.
What was the most scary part of it all? Like, what really terrified you? Was this expectancy to perform? Was it this? Did you feel like the song had to become bigger than you at that point in your life, and you had to sort of be as big as the song?
Yeah, totally. And then also I knew it was going to be really hard to follow it up creatively, because I knew I was never going to write another song like Bulletproof. Like, it's the most poppy, like, young kind of sounding thing I've ever written, you know? It's like, when I have to perform it on stage, now I do a different version of it. I've just done a remix of it. And you still get the song, you still get the energy, you still get the tempo, but I've just changed the arrangement so that it fits with my set more. But like, when I used to have to perform it, like 5 years ago, the same version, it was like I'd come out of my set of my second record and the first album combined, which I loved. And then I'd have to perform Bulletproof at the end of the set, and I'd be like, I feel like I have to go back in time and be a 17-year-old to perform it. And when you're like 28 or whatever, that's not as easy as it sounds. Like, just be 17 again. Be like, been there, done that. I'm like, what the hell? You know, like, I found it really difficult. I just couldn't get into that space. So now I've had to sort of change it. It's just one tiny part of me that happened once, and then it becomes the whole of you. Like, everyone's like, that is you. And I'm like, that was 1% of me when I was 17. Like, and it just came out in one song. It's not like my whole life. You know?
The way I always like to sort of liken it to, you know, the casual fan or just the everyday person like me, it's like, imagine just one story from high school.
Yeah.
And it was one night at a party, and you did something, and not an embarrassing thing, but just one story. And then wherever you go, anyone wants to talk to you about is that one story.
Yeah, totally.
It happened however many years ago.
Which is also great that people still remember it, and it was, you know, it worked so well, and people love the track, and they have memories, and high school memories, and primary school memories, and like, that's amazing, and I'm really proud of that. But I have other stuff to do as well. Like, I have other music, and creatively, obviously, it's difficult to follow up something like that, which is why I didn't even try. It's why my second record is intentionally going in a really quite different direction. I was like, there's no way I can follow this up. And I never wanted to be that kind of modern pop star that does 5 bulletproofs, you know? Like, there are lots of pop stars like that. I'm just not one of them.
Were you getting pressure, like tangible pressure at the time from whoever to make another Bulletproof?
Yeah, of course. That's why it took 5 years to make that album, because I was like, I didn't play anyone the music. I was just like, because if I play anyone this music, they're just going to be like, is there anything that a bit more like Bulletproof, you know? And I just knew that that was going to happen. And I was like, I'm liking making this music. I'm finding my way. I had a bit of writer's block. I also lost my voice for like 5 years from anxiety. I got residual tension in my larynx and I couldn't sing high for 5 years.
Was this after or before you experienced a panic attack, I know, on vacation?
That was like, yeah, that was like.
That was after?
That was, well, so basically there was, that happened just before I made this album, because I had been making another album that I had to kind of put in the bin, not because it wasn't good, but just because there was a relationship in play there that was not right, and there was no way of salvaging the music from it. So I had a panic attack about that, but that was the first panic attack I'd had for like 5 years. But before that, I used to have them a lot when I lost my voice, because obviously I had to go on stage and I couldn't sing. And everyone was like, why are you having panic attacks? I was like, because you keep sending me on stage and I can't sing. It's not that weird that I'm having a panic attack. So yeah, there was just a lot of, I just got really scared. I think people genuinely thought that I was as strong as I made myself look as Roux, and I wasn't. Like maybe I kind of am getting there now. But I was like far from being a strong, you know, woman that could handle all of that stuff. I just couldn't, you know, so it just affected me physically. And then I went away, made that album for way too long, was struggling with like writer's block and stuff like that. And just lack of confidence because of my voice, I think. It's more that than writer's block. And then, yeah, that album finally came out. My label was just so disappointed. And they were like, we've spent so much of our money now. It's taken so long. And we don't think there's a hit. And I was like, oh, well, you know. But I know I love the whole of that record. And I think for me, it's more important to have a whole record of songs that you love than one that does really well and the rest that you don't care about, which, let's be honest, you know, most big tracks, they're on an album full of not very good tracks.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just one of those things, you know.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
I don't want that, you know.
Did you surprise even yourself with how fast this the version of this album that we're now enjoying came about? Because it's roughly like 4 months, I've heard.
4 months, yeah. I wrote it in my kitchen. It started in February 2018, and then it was all written by April. Some of the lyrics weren't written yet, but it was basically all there. You know, the shapes of the words were there. I just hadn't decided which words went there yet.
Did you anticipate, though, that, you know, this, because it's quite the venture for the first time in your professional career, it's just you. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised how fast it went, or did you expect it to go that fast?
No, do you know what? I was really annoyed. I was like, I should have done this before. You're such an idiot. I knew this would happen. I was like, you've just been thinking that you need help for 10 years. And yeah, do you know what 10 years ago you did? Because you didn't know what you were doing, but you don't anymore. Like, you've spent 8 years in the studio. How much more experience do you need? Do you know what I mean? And I've always had a propensity for melodies, so melodies is never an issue. And I've always written pretty much all the parts, apart from the odd one, on all the albums. And I've written the beats and everything, the grooves. So it's like I don't really know why I thought I needed somebody to, like, validate my ideas, but I obviously did. Or I thought I did. And then the more that person was there, whoever they were, the more I just found things going really slowly. Like, and also feeling like they were sort of there to give my ideas permission to be in the computer, which I was like, that's not right. You know what I mean? And then I think not having them around was so freeing. It was just so nice. And at first I'd been like, God, working on your own could be a bit kind of boring because you're just there on your own. But actually, it was such a joyous, brilliant experience. I loved every second of it. You know, me and my cat just hung out in the kitchen and made this record. And then I went to Dan Carey's and recorded it. It was just the easiest thing ever. I loved it.
Does the cat get production credits at all?
She doesn't, but she should.
She
really annoyed me. Whenever I sing, it's like she thinks I'm in pain. So she comes around me and she won't leave me alone. And it's like I'm being stalked by my own cat. It's really annoying. And
She's trying to hop on the mic.
Yeah, she really is. She wants in on the action for sure.
That's so funny. I was thinking of just getting back to how we opened this conversation and the way you wrote it. You weren't really thinking. And you talked about honesty. And I was thinking about, you know, God, your music resonates so deeply with people. As I've said, you know, we have people here, we have people outside that came out for you today. And it's not too unlike how we talk, if we're being honest, right? Like, you and I don't know what the next question I'm going to ask or the next answer you're going to give, right? We're just being honest. We're living in the moment. That's seemingly how you created this album. Do you think that lends to why your music resonates so deeply? Because it's kind of how human beings communicate when we're being honest with each other?
I really hope that's why. I really
interesting, right?
I really hope that's why, because it would make me feel nice.
Yeah.
But I think, I really hope so. I don't know though. I think it's partly my voice. I've been told, you know. I don't really sound like many other singers. I think that's part of it. I think it's also that it's quite rare for women or men really in pop music, but I guess it's more rare for women to write all of their music so that you can hear my personality through every tiny part of my music. Whereas I think there's obviously a lot of solo female artists. There's no slight on them whatsoever, but there's a lot of solo female artists where 100 different men write all of the parts on their records. Right. So there's just less of them on the record, which I think as a fan is a real shame. And I think we should be pushing pop artists, solo, female, male, whatever, to be writing music. Like, because you'll get more of your personality out. Like, if Stevie Wonder wrote a keyboard part, you knew it was him. It's not like, oh, who could that be? You know, it's like, it's definitely him. If Prince wrote something, you knew it was Prince. You know what I mean? Like, you just know by hearing it. You don't have to see the credit. And I think that makes a massive difference. And I personally miss that a lot in modern music. I think in alternative underground music, obviously, we get it all day long. But I feel like it's almost like people have just said, yeah, pop's not for that anymore. You know, like, you don't actually...
Well, and hip-hop, too, I think. I think that's a huge reason why I love hip-hop.
Yeah, totally.
Like I'm getting to know this
You're getting properly... Not only are you getting their lyrics, you're also getting their favourite tunes that they've selected in the background, often if they're sampling, or their great bass lines, or whatever it is. It's like... Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that's partly why hip-hop is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
I find myself, too, just with modern pop albums and new pop albums where I more applaud the performance, right? As opposed to me feeling like I have any insight into what's going on with this particular pop star's life.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you're right.
Before we kick it over your fence, I do want to sort of highlight an achievement in my eyes is you've really been great about achieving this visual identity. There's almost a visual expectancy with Roux, and it's really tough to do. Especially over so many times. But even the video that we saw at the top of the program, even the visuals here, is that something you must consciously go about, right?
Yeah, big time. It's like 50% of what I do. I would say that the aesthetics is like definitely 50% of what I do. Like Roux's not Roux without, I don't mean to talk in the third person, but it is a character.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's like, it's really, really important to me. It's escapism for me. It's an art project. It's something I can keep my mind and eyes on all the time. Like when I write a song, I think about visuals. I think about how the parts in the song make me feel and what I want to go with that. There's always like a theme and a brand to each song as well. Like with International Women of Leisure, it was easy. I was like, well, Thunderbird's James Bond, you know, but in a Roux way. So when I made all the costume, I designed that jacket. I designed everything in all the videos, apart from one pair of trousers and the Gucci jacket and Automatic Driver. Made all the outfits in Gullible Fool. It's really, I have just a lot of ideas, and like music is a really good outlet for me to be able to just do all the things in my head, you know, like color schemes, whether it be like furniture that I like or whatever it is. It's just a good excuse to do a bunch of stuff that I really like in my head. It's a nice outlet.
Yeah. It's funny, just for whatever reason, that answer just made me think about if you look at your discography, it seems like for a time there, you and Kanye West had a bit of an artistic kinship. Was this just kind of like file sharing across the pond, or did you guys actually chat? Or
No, it was never that close. I think he just asked me to be on his record.
We did a couple of those records. He remixed your song.
Yeah, but it was all in one like couple of days. So it was like, I came here and I went to Electric Ladyland and we did, I think we did that. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we did Am I allowed to say that word? Oh, yeah? That's my bitch. We did that, and then we did All of the Lights and I'm Lost in the Woods or the World, whichever it's called, I always forget. And then we also did, so we did the Watch the Throne, That's My Bitch track, and then the other two on that album.
But you must have first
in like the first few days
met his acquaintance in some way when he remixed.
No, because he remixed him for The Kill the same 3 days we were together. So I went to Electric Ladyland. We hung out for like 3 days. He was finishing his record at the time,
right? And
then we did all of that stuff in like 3 days.
Did he tell you he was going to put about 1 million vocals on All the Lights?
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he like 10 tracks every vocal.
Yeah.
So like every vocal he gets you to do like 10. And then he leaves them all and just takes double tracking to a completely new level. I'm not sure how necessary it is, but it seems to work. And like Alicia Keys had been in the night before. There'd been a lot of vocalists just coming in and like doing stuff. And then I just came in and added over the top.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was it was definitely strange. It was like a new experience for me as an artist.
Exactly. Good story to tell. Let's kick it to Brian here in New York City. Where are you, Brian? Awesome.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Supervision is amazing.
Thank you.
He Rise is my favorite song. And I know you already mentioned it, but you said that you feel like you write the best in the kitchen with your cat. But are there any like other places where you feel like most inspired when you write songs or when you're like envisioning like music videos?
It's weird. It's kind of a boring answer, but not really. It's a very random process. Like sometimes it's usually, unfortunately, when I'm like watching television or something really dull like that. I think it's when I'm perfectly bored and distracted at the same time, i.e. I'm not trying to do anything. Like I think if I sat down and I was like, right, it's time to write, yo, I wouldn't write anything. I think it's the fact that I'm just sat there thinking about stuff and then it just comes. Like sometimes it is an effort process though. Like with Automatic Driver, I was like, okay, I really need to think of a music video for this because I don't trust somebody else to treat for it. But then I just thought about the title a lot and then it made sense. But that was like an hour of thinking for like almost a whole music video treatment. But it's like, I don't know, it's not really, it's just being relaxed and happy is my main inspiration, I think.
Great question. Let's get to Devin. Where are you, Devin?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. My question is, what was the inspiration of the creative process of the music video?
Which one? The International Woman of Leisure?
Yes.
That one. It was actually sort of started with one of my personal trainers, Josh, who's a boxer. He's called Hollywood Josh, and he heard the track, and he was like, "Oh my God, you should do it like a cross between Thunderbirds and the Michael Jackson Black or White video where there's different dancers in each country." And I was like, I don't have that kind of money. So you can just forget about that now. That's not going to happen. But then he kind of got me thinking on this whole thing. And I was like, you're not wrong about that vibe. And I've always had the Thunderbirds box set, but I've never watched it. But I've always got it right in front of me in my living room. And I just thought, actually, that could work really, really well. And then I decided to make it more like a women's agency where it's more about what the song's about, i.e. like finding your strength and helping other women sort of find strength, but in a very non-serious kind of, non-political sort of way, just in a nice, silly, cheeky, fun way. I don't want anyone to think everything's too serious. Do you know what I mean? It gets a bit boring.
Awesome. Great questions, guys. We're unfortunately out of time, but Elly, thank you so much for coming by. You're
Thank you
welcome
so much.
anytime
Thank
here on
you.
Build.
Thank you for
and
having me.
the new record, Supervision, out everywhere now, guys. Thanks for watching.